Firefighters give everything to their communities. At firehousefurniture.com, we make furniture worthy of that sacrifice. Durable, comfortable, built to last. Firehousefurniture.com.
Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene. If they've been command, give me a C.A.N report.
What is going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein. Stickers of the C.A.N report. Nozzle Tov, everybody. Got another great guest. I've got New Hampshire. I've got Derry. I've got Dennis Livoli. He is on the job with me, Lieutenant Livoli of the Derry Fire Department. And we're going to be talking about something really cool. We're going to be talking about the Boston Marathon. It's something near and dear to a lot of people's hearts, especially us in New England. And Dennis Livoli is going to be running in it this year. And he's doing it for the Last Call Foundation. And we're going to be talking about that and why he picked that cause and why he's doing it and his history in the fire service. Dennis Livoli, thank you so much for being on the show.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. This is awesome. I never thought I'd be able to do one of these, so I'm really giddy right now.
It is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. It's even more fun doing it with people that I know. It's the excitement builds again, and it makes me feel happy and like refreshed doing this. So it's really a lot of fun, and I'm excited to get into the meat potatoes of it. Before we jump into who Lieutenant Dennis Livoli is, I always love to give a shout out to my sponsors. So please reach out to Engine House Designs LLC. He is a firefighter out of Memphis. His name is Cody Hill. He has been doing great stuff with his company. He makes hats, he makes flags, he makes patches, anything for like your union, for your departments, for your business. Reach out to him. He's got it. And he's honestly wicked easy to work with. And he's very patient and he cares about the quality of the product. Also, my other sponsor, the Kitchen Table Foundation. They've actually teamed up. So you have Engine House Designs, the Kitchen Table Foundation. They're working together for one purpose, to help us, first responders. So the Kitchen Table Foundation, nonprofit organization based out of Arkansas, is to help with mental health, help to get help to our first responders, military, vets, to talk things out. And that's how they developed it, talking around the kitchen table. So Engine House Designs is working with them, developing all of their merchandise. So go to their website, see what they got for you. Engine House Designs, Igniting the Pride, and the Kitchen Table Foundation. With that being said, that's it. Now we're going to talk about Lieutenant Dennis Livoli. Again, thank you so much. It is a privilege to have you on, and I wanted to jump into who you are. So for the world out there, who are you?
Well,
Not too much
that's a
stress
loaded
right there.
question, man. That's a loaded question. But a little bit of a brief. I'm born and raised from Mass. I came up to New Hampshire, but in Massachusetts, Patriots Day is the third Monday of the month, and it is a staple around New England. We always got it off as school kids, and you went to see the Revolutionary War stuff, Battle of Bunker Hill stuff, and of course, early Red Sox game and the Boston Marathon. It is a heck of a spring day. There's a lot going on in the city. Uh, but my career, I was kicking around at UMass trying to think I was going to be an engineer, and I took a EMT class, and I loved it. I loved it. I had some people get me a job. Next thing you know, I'm running around the streets of Lowell at all sorts of hours, up to no good with the other EMTs and paramedics to Greater Lowell's P1, and it was great. And one day I said, you know what, I think I want to be a medic. And I went off to medic school, New York Eastern University, class 43, had a ball with those guys, and started working as a medic in and around the Merrimack Valley in northern Massachusetts. And my life, following things took me to New Hampshire. And I said, I need something else to do here. And
I need something else.
Yeah, right. I started checking out fire stuff, and I didn't know what I was doing really, if it was the right fit and where I was going. And then all of a sudden they bring you into that first day of burn building. We're at the Brentwood Burn House, and they sit you down on the floor and they have you take your glove off and you go through the thermal layers while you're on air. And then moving that hose was a lot like playing sports when I was a kid. I'd never experienced anything like that as an adult, and being a part of that. And I was hooked, absolutely hooked to do the job at that point, and wanted to get on somewhere. Luckily, I volunteered in Newcastle, New Hampshire. They took me right in, living right next door in Portsmouth. They got me hooked up with all the classes and being Fire 1 and Fire 2 up here. Spending a couple years with them before I got hired in Derry. And The rest, as they say, is history, man. I've put together over the course of the last 20 years, technically put everything together, almost 30 years of putting together a life and a resume and history and running around. And, that's kind of who I am, basically how I got to where I'm at today.
That's great. Going back to the Lowell days, what year was that?
Oh, man, 96
96.
to, I want to say 2002, 2001.
So I mean, there was, obviously there was that big HBO special about Lowell and, all the crack and everything. Were you working in that area when that was all going down?
Yes and no. That HBO, it was like the year before I got there,
Okay.
but we knew of it. It
Was it
was.
Cracktown USA, I think is what it was called.
I think you're right. Yeah, man.
I'm dating myself because I'm 47, so I've been around as well. So I know what's up. For anybody listening, especially the people in the younger generation, that was legit. Lowell was on the map for the bad things. And it was a place you didn't want to go. I mean, there was a lot of crime. There was a lot of drugs, and it was really, really bad.
Yeah, right where I started, within that year or two, community policing took over, and the chief of police put in the substations there. And for a kid that started hanging out there in high school and then going to UMass Lowell, and it by the time I was in running around the streets, I felt pretty safe, man. We were not doing the stabbings and shootings that I'd heard the medics do. Like, the medics back then were like the original P1s, still in the middle of their
Yeah.
career. Like, they started first day medics back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, and they had some stories, and they had some scars, literally and figuratively. And to learn from those guys was just incredible. To worry about the ABCs and keep it here before you thought about going up here.
Yeah. I mean, that was real battlefield EMS. Like, that was when they were doing that shit. That was very, very real. And those streets were mean. But it's cool that you got to learn from that raw experience, honestly, and then transition it over into the fire service career. And then you mentioned, like, you went old school in the burn building and the flashover simulator. You were taught to take your glove off and feel the thermal layers. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. Like, I'm like, that's why I wanted to break in there, but I loved what you were going with it. And when you talked about taking your glove off to feel it, that doesn't happen anymore. That's very, very, like, that's a bad thing. Like, you are not to take off any PPE inside of those simulators. Like, it's a very, very big deal. And I could get fired. Like, as an instructor, you get fired and all that crap. But it's just cool how you talk about that, because that's how we learn and how we were taught. And, you got to feel the heat. You got to understand what, you got to see it and you got to feel it to understand what the fire environment's doing. And I think that's really cool that you were talking about that old school teaching of, like, hey, you got to feel that heat on your skin, not just through your PPE. So I love that. So then you transitioned over to Derry, and you started obviously from the ground up at Derry Fire. Now you're a lieutenant, and you've been with Derry now for over 20 years, right? It's been what, 23, 25?
No, right over 20, like a couple months over 20.
Okay.
I think barely 6 months over 20.
Wow. Well, congratulations reaching on your 20 marker there. That's a milestone for a lot of people, man. I appreciate that.
Thanks, man. It doesn't sound like anything, like, 20, like, no big deal. But then when you really think about it, and the longevity of a career and a life, and you're like, wow, that's a significant amount of time and calls. We had a conversation the other day at the Firehouse table of somebody had mentioned something, and it just grabs that memory and sucks it back, and you're able to relate that to something that's happened in the past, and how you can pull those things out. It doesn't happen unless you have that time and you're putting in that effort.
And you've seen a lot of changes within that department. You've seen a lot of growth. Just for my short time on being on Derry, a lot of personnel change, a lot of new people. We also have a brand new station that was just opened up. And again, someone for you who's been on that department for 20 years, honestly, if you can, what's it like to see such big changes that happen? Because we talk about, like, there's the guys who've always done it, the guys who, the way we've always done it, and we don't like change, and change can be difficult. And someone for you, like, you had the stations you're used to, you had the kind of the way we've always done it in that area, and now it's really starting to shift. What's it like to see the town itself and then the department itself honestly change and actually pretty quick because that town is developing a lot faster than we can keep up.
Yeah, I think change and growth, especially if it's fostered from the town administrator and the chief of the department down, it's a positive thing because whether we like it or not, and the examples are all around us, especially on the northern Massachusetts line. When my parents moved up there in the 70s, they were told they were going to the sticks. My dad always used to joke about it. And now it's really just Metro Boston. And here we are in southern New Hampshire dealing with that. So if you're not honest with that and proactive in that as your community increases in not only population, but demographics and industry and the, structure, you know, community structure around you. Highways are getting wider, trucks are getting bigger. You're going to fall behind and you're not going to be ready for that next incident. I'm just going back to what I said earlier. It's natural to go from that first day probie. And I wish I was at 2021 like some of our young guys, because
Yeah,
man, I think they have that energy and they have that passion a lot right now, and it's easy to stay focused and sucked into it. But going there at even at 31, the passion from those guys were like they were so ingrained into the community, and they're not just a fire department that goes out on calls. They're a fire department that goes out on calls, but for us to like finish somebody's lawn, to pick up their newspaper, to take their dog out and use the facility, it's normal. That's normal for us. And passing that on to this new generation, right, they're eating it up and they're sucking it up, and they want to do the same stuff that we did. I'm kind of for it.
I love it. And because you do a lot, like you talked about community and being involved in it, you actually do a lot with the community with Derry. For one, the float. Every year, you lead the charge on the holiday float. And obviously, if you didn't lead the charge, I don't think it'd get done. And you're very passionate about it. And I love that you're passionate about that. And it's good to see, like you said, the younger people, to see the senior guy, the 20-year guy being like, no, let's build a float. And it's not just because, we're doing it because the department wants to be seen, but you're doing it because it has nothing to do with the department. You're doing it because you care about the community, you care about doing stuff together. I had a great question I was on a friend of mine, Engine House podcast, and he asked, what is a tool that we're not using or do we need to help keep up relations within our group, our battalions, and to develop brotherhood and networking. And my answer was going out as a group, like whether it's playing pool, going bowling, seeing a movie, whatever. But honestly, building that float is a great way to develop that relationship, because you don't even know you're developing a bond, as you're painting a piece of wood with whatever slogan or theme it's going to be, or you're tacking something onto it. Like, you're talking to the person next to you and you're spending hours working on a float, and you just learned a whole bunch of new things about a person you probably wouldn't have, because it's your mind's just working on that one goal, and you start networking, you start developing the bond.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's twofold for the bond building. You're in that month leading up to that parade to get it done, and you're working with people, and sometimes it's a casual thing. They're walking by, hey, can I do this or can I do that? Or you find somebody with a specialty skill and you beg for their help, and I say beg, but it's really asking. It's no problem. You just coordinate the time and they get in there, and you have a few laughs, and you see what you can put together creatively. And artsy stuff is just not my forte. I'm an Excel spreadsheet guy. But the other part of that is when you're at parade day and you get that thing lined up, you're talking to other people involved in the town. They're coordinating the parade, the judges. You share some stories and some jokes. You hear some of the stuff about the community and how long they've been involved with the parade and what they do in the community. Old school board members, you find out how buildings were built and what person used to be involved in the town. And then what's even cooler is if you're there and you're focused on the float. That's one thing. You go out, you wave at folks, and you get a chance to talk to the float before you and behind you. But if you're working that day and somebody else takes the float and you are staged and you leapfrog, you walk in through all of those people that are out there seeing that stuff, it's an awesome opportunity just to talk to people, answer questions that they may have about what we do, and learn about them and who you're really taking care of in between calls, and providing that safety net that makes them sleep well at night.
I love it. And that's great. That's like the community development we're seeing. They want to see our department. They want people in any community. They want to see their department. They want to know who those members are. They want to know who's protecting them and who they expect to come up and help them with anything.
Yeah, man. I mean, even just slowing down and like you see somebody who needs help, you pull the fire truck over or the ambulance over and you help somebody out real quick. I mean, lemonade sales for these kids.
Yeah.
Man, I'll even stopping and going sledding and just letting the kids see the truck when we're out grabbing groceries all the time. It's that's the fun part when you're out there dealing with, the not fun part, which is basically our job. It's somebody's bad day. If you can have those good interactions too,
Yeah.
man, you got to jump on them and be a part of this community.
And it helps us get, a new building, a new truck, staffing. I mean, when people see us and see what we're doing and giving back to the community, that's a huge buy-in to the community. And, again, we're not even doing it for that. We're doing it because, like for you love the flow. You love it because it is something that you're passionate about. You love the bringing people together. And again, every year I see you just putting so much time and effort into it and passion. And I love seeing it. And this year you guys won second place, right?
Yeah, yeah. We seem to win something every year, whether it's creativity or overall design or something. But that was going on before I started being involved when I was just painting like doorknobs or throwing on. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So, with your passion and what you do, you also have now another passion that you're doing, and that is the Boston Marathon. And this is something that you never ran the marathon before, correct?
No, not this marathon. No, but like I said, growing up in New England, this was a dream. Last year, I got to work a mid station down there. We were right across from the Newton Firehouse, mile 17. And just to be that close from the beginning to the end was like, oh my God, being a runner, it was awe-inspiring. I knew right from that second that I wanted to try to find a way to be able to run in this thing.
So that's awesome. And so you just mentioned that you volunteer. You used to volunteer helping with first aid and being a medic on scene. Is that the last year was the first time you did that?
Yeah, so a firefighter friend of mine who I knew from Scouts, his family's been doing it for a number of years. His aunt is the med station director, and he has a bunch of other family members that are nurses and stuff, and they're still always looking for help to be involved in that and volunteers. So my wife and I, who's a nurse, she's an RN, and we both volunteered that day. So it was kind of like a day date for us, treating people and running around, and we had a blast, man. The people that even you get to meet in that tent, it's not you have a physician, you have nurses, but you also have physical therapists who are giving quick massages and stretching people out, who understand this stuff. It's kind of split medical and physical therapy. It was awesome. It was one hell of a thing, especially believe it or not, the whole thing is set up on NIMS. There's a unified command post and how they call for ambulances. I mean, the whole thing is just impressive.
Imagine, like this. I've always been in awe of how people and the governments can put together such an amazing event and pull together all those resources because that is just huge. And then, of course, everything that happened, years ago with that tragic event, it's just amped it up even more. So now you have more resources involved and more officials involved because obviously we don't want repeats or anything. It's but it's just got to be it's got to be crazy seeing that many people in a community like that, and you have a small piece of it of literally being there to help, and you get to have the ability to be just literally helping the runners or helping anybody else that's involved, and that's what I think we love to do as in our field. We just love to help, and that kind of situation even more so. We get to be part of something even more incredible, and volunteering is just something I think we all love to do, and something again like running and being passionate about that. So you are going to be running this year,
Yeah.
and what cause are you going to be running for? What foundation?
So I was curious. I knew they had charity bibs out there. A little quick story for you. And I looked at the list, the Boston Athletic Association, or the BAA, who puts on the marathon every year. Right on their webpage had a list of charity bibs, and I went through. and found a couple, but this one jumped right to the list for me because you want to identify with somebody you're going to go out and ask to sponsor you as a runner, not just, somebody you have no connection to. So, hey, can you sponsor me so I can run? Which is kind of what you do anyway, but you do a little bit more heart because you believe in this. So I found the Last Call Foundation, and I actually blew off everything else, and I kept waiting for them to open up their applications, which was beyond, like, all these other teams were put together, and they put it out. So I was pretty stoked to apply and get accepted to run for the Last Call Foundation.
So tell me about the Last Call Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael Kennedy and Ed Walsh, who passed away at the fire in Boston. Michael Kennedy's mom, Kathy Crosby Bell, she bore this, kind of was a little, and just paraphrasing from her actually online video, I would encourage everybody to get on the Last Call Foundation website and check out their stuff. But the hose burned up behind him. And how does that happen? And it's a great question, and what the technology is. But from that, came what they do in the research and the grants. So they do studies on how a lot of this stuff affects us, whether it's the equipment, the hose, the PFAS in the gear, and how we can help people. And then they have the opportunities for departments all over the world to write grants for, get them cleaning extractors for their gear, help them with gear purchases, thermal imagers, hose. I mean, it's just incredible organization in the people that are involved. And I am really looking forward to getting to really meet a lot of these people, my fellow runners here in a few weeks, and really supporting this program.
That's fantastic. I was at that funeral and it was surreal. I mean, I think it hit, obviously it's just not Boston for sure, but I think all of us in the area, really, it hit us where we all were just shocked by it and the research that came from it. And it's still ongoing. And you have a lot of firefighters in New England that really dug deep into understanding the why behind this. Wind driven fires, right? Coming off the bay, and you said like burnt hose and everything else that went along with that. The OSHA report and NIOSH report is crazy, and it's so in depth. And it's one of those fires that people in our field need to look into and study and not forget and honor their memory, and about trying to understand why we don't want history to repeat itself. And but I love that they have this foundation, and that you've gone on to that you held out for it and you got it, and now you're raising money to do the marathon. And so when you do these foundations, when you do the marathon run, is there a set amount that you have to reach your goal to be able to participate in the marathon?
Yeah, so I have to raise a minimum of 12,000. We're off to a good start. Got some help from some, family and friends, but I got a long road ahead of me, and not a lot of time to do it in. We're actually at like 87 days out from marathon day and 84 for where my deadline is to
Yeah.
to have this in.
I know we were talking earlier before we did this. I'm like, man, we're going to be short on time. When do you have to get that amount in?
So April 16th is the cutoff for me, and then April 20th is race day.
Wow. And upon doing that as well, you're trying to raise money for the foundation. You're working full time. You got your kids. You got home life, and then you also have to prepare for this event as well. It's not just a jaunt around the park.
No, no.
How do you prepare for the Boston Marathon?
So this actually goes back to the fire service, man. There was a number of years ago where I was getting out of shape. Things were getting ahead of me. I had some, things going on, and I started running for peace of mind and just to be out on the road. And Davio, retired lieutenant out of Derry, came to me and he goes, you're running a lot. Like, what are you doing? And so I sat and I talked with him, and he goes, you can run a marathon. I was like, no, I can't. I'm not interested. He goes, no, no, really. And he set me up, and I ran my first marathon within a year. I ran the Marine Corps Marathon, and I absolutely loved it. What an experience to run out through our nation's capital, outside of politics, but just the history and the tradition and the monuments and the people and the personalities associated in the crowds and the vibes. It was great. I actually didn't think I was going to run another marathon. I really enjoy the halves. I like being out there running, but then I decided, you know what? I'm 50, now 51, soon to be 52. And I ran Disney a few weeks ago. I ran the Disney marathon. My older kids, my two boys, they ran the half the day before. So there's some stuff, but you're right. It's a lot of time because once you start to get into high mileage, you're running a long run every other week, flagged by two medium or short runs. So on your long run day, even if you're at 16, 18 miles, it's 3 or 4 hours out of your day. And then you're kind of a little tired come 6:37. You're trying to get through dinner. Find out about your kid's day at school. My youngest is in 5th grade, and you just want to go to bed, or at least I do, but this is a 3 or 4 day week commitment. And then being in New England, dodging the cold, especially running through the summers, like you can get up early at 5, 6 a.m., 4, and go for a nice cool run. But in the winter, you're hoping for the afternoon with not so many slush puddles. And everybody's like, "Why don't you get on a treadmill?"
It's not the same,
Yeah,
right?
I ran yesterday 15 miles on the treadmill because I was supposed to run with the Derry Running Club in their 16-mile race. Signed up for it, paid for it, but I couldn't do -10. Couldn't do it. So I went, I picked up my T-shirt, my bib, and and I came home and I got on the treadmill. Told them I wasn't going, but it's
That's tough
hard.
because you got to do it in like you said, you got to do it in the elements. Is
Yeah.
I guess I'm not a runner, but I would only imagine that it's like we train for the fire. You got to train with live fire to know what it's like, to know how to battle it. And imagine with marathon running, you got to train on the streets because it could running on a treadmill is going to be way different than running on the actual pavement.
Yeah, because as the road goes, the hills are natural, the ups and the downs, the scenery changes, you pass people, it's weird. You talk, you wave at people, even cars going by, you're like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, and they must be like, "Who's this guy?" Right? And you're enjoying yourself, but on the treadmill, even with a movie on, you're like, "Oh my God, I gotta get off this thing." And that's me. Some people can run, but that's how I do it. But I've learned even at 20, 25 degrees with a light wind, I go out in shorts. I've got comfortable with it. I enjoy the brisk because you warm up. You kind of strip off a few layers, even though it's biting. But it's the same thing. Once it gets too cold, it's like when it gets too hot. I won't start a run after 75 degrees. And I really probably shouldn't start it after 70 because you just get dehydrated and
Mm.
fatigued. You have a belt with a little water thing, but it only lasts so long.
And like we just got dumped on with over a foot of snow. Like, how do you run with that kind of like when they don't clean up the streets yet? It's impossible. That's talking about trying to get a cardiovascular workout that way of trying to trudge through the snow. I mean, that's a workout.
So the biggest thing is you just got to move things around and fit them into your life. You find that, okay, it's not going to be ideal running out there for a couple days. Maybe I put my long run off, move my schedule around, and I've done that. Like I've sat and planned out like a whole month around shift work, and then I've had to go and say, okay, I'm getting overtime this day, or my wife needs me here, or this weather, it's raining for 3 days, and
Mm.
you rewrite it, and that's why you do everything in pencil, bro.
Well, speaking of the preparing and being diligent in your workouts, what about the eating habits as well? I imagine, did you have to change your whole dietary plans to really get yourself prepared for this?
So when I decided to run the marathon outside of my normal running, like running a couple times a week, because I find, at least being for a firefighter, breathing and cardiovascular makes me feel good, especially on the fire ground. But really, I like a carbonated beverage, and I am a chocoholic. And I like my chocolate, and being 50, if you don't exercise, your PPE ain't gonna fit anymore, and you got to do it. But when you decide you're gonna run the marathon, yeah, there's a few things. You try to eat a little bit more protein. Try to lower your carbs a little bit. Even though, like, before I go for a run, I have a bag loaded with peanut butter. Love peanut butter anyway. Make sure I have that long acting energy release. The nice thing is, even though, like I mentioned, my wife's an RN, before she did that, she's an exercise physiologist and a nutritionist.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I've got in-home hookup big time.
Well, I was just going to ask you, how do you know all of this? Like, who do you reach out to? But man, you guess you got it covered.
Yeah, are you kidding me? She makes me oatmeals and with, fruit or chocolate chips in it, and I just grab one, heat it up, and I'm good to go.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't realize that about your wife. I knew she was a nurse, but I didn't realize she had that background as well. That makes it a lot easier. But with
Yeah.
her being and having that background, do you also reach out to other marathon runners, especially ones who have run? Do you have any connections with people who do run or had participated in the Boston Marathon?
I know some unofficial Boston marathoners, but I've never really met somebody. But in our own firehouse, we have a captain who's running. He does high school track coaching as well. So I've talked to him a little bit, and then one of my best buds is a marathoner and a triathloner, and he's got a couple of years on me. I don't want to throw him under the bus, but he's been a huge source. He sends me clips. He sends me stuff. Like I said, it'd been a long time before ran my last marathon. Didn't think I was going to do it. Now I'm going to run two in a year. And these people that run 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, not me, not me. It's crazy, but the energy and the strength and the stretching, and it really is impressive to even see people who run these things professionally, who make money off of endorsements. There's a person here in town, and we see them out running all the time. And if you watch Boston Marathon Newsday with our local news station, that individual gets highlighted all the time, and it'd be awesome to pick that person's brain, leaps and bounds for where I'll ever be, and what they do and run. But it is helpful to reach out and talk to those, which is like anything, it's somebody's always come before you at anything that you do, and they have failed.
Yeah.
Like I have failed on the fire ground or in the back of the ambulance, and that's the stuff that you learn from, and you can teach other people that stuff, and it's great.
That's awesome. And when you're doing your runs, like I love to listen to music. I can't work out without music. Some people, when I've asked people, especially like some of these elite, physically dominant people, and I'll ask them like, "What kind of music do you listen to?" And usually the answer I get is, "I don't listen to anything. I take in the pain. I take in, to get in my mind, and I want to." It's almost like they're a little bit of a meditation, but they kind of absorb all of it, and then they just get into the mindset. Do you listen to music or do you do something else?
No, I do 2 things, technically 3, but I definitely listen to music. I like the sounds of nature, I like being out with people, but if the music and you focus in on your life and some other things, and you forget about what your feet are doing or how your hands are or your respirations, that stuff just comes naturally, and next thing you know, you've gone a few miles,
Mm,
and you feel good, and you kinda are running, but you look at the debris next to you, like along the trail or the road, like some of these lawn clippings, and you realize how fast they're going past you. And you look at your time on your phone, and you're like, "Wow, I feel good. I'm flying today. I'm not racing, but I feel good." Versus being sluggish and slow, and I feel like you're having a good workout. Somebody suggested to me, one of my buddies that is also running the Boston Marathon for another organization, and he suggested podcasts, and I'm a sports guy, so I'm listening to New Heights, and I listen to Dudes on Dudes, and little shout out to them. And you listen to those guys, and they're former athletes, and they're talking to other people, and you know you realize, wow, kind of a human guy who just has an extraordinary job versus somebody, you kind of think, "Oh my god, they must live up here and craziness all the time." And they got to go home and cut the lawn too. It's
yeah.
crazy. So I do that, and the third thing, which is kind of sort of, I alluded to it earlier, is just listen to nature.
Hmm.
You get a good spring day. Uh, you know, Fox will run across the road. There's geese on the pond. It's cool.
I think it really helps you to appreciate, like you said, I love nature and I love being in the moment. And I think with especially with running, because I've heard a lot from people, is you really get in that mindset of enjoying the outside, of really taking in nature. And I think you start doing that, as you said, you're just kind of looking at lawn clippings, you're looking at leaves on the trees, you're listening to what God gave us in this earth, and you kind of all of a sudden zone out. And like you said, before you know it, it's like 5 miles because you just like got in a different mindset and you're enjoying life without even knowing it and not even thinking about the pain or how tired you are. And because that's what I like when I when I work out, that is my therapy. I love to be in the gym. I love to like get into all my anger and anything else I got going on. It's out on the weights. It's I'm taking it out on the weights. I'm taking it out on the floor, and I walk away and I'm feeling so refreshed and more energized than I was. Because like you said before, like you have to push yourself, and there's times you don't want to go for a run. There's times you don't want to go to the gym, but once you push yourself through it and you finish it, you're like, man, I'm so glad I did that. I feel so much better.
Right. Even if it's a short run, like 4 or 5 miles, any run's hard to start. It really is. It's like, oh God, the time and how am I going to feel and the weather. But once you get beyond your stretching and you get on the right gear and you hit the road, no matter how long or short that run is, when you're done, you always feel better. It's a good high. Allows you to think, clear your head a little bit. And having grown up in the scouting program and just camping a lot and hiking, and this is just another reason to be outdoors. And you think of memories, think of my dad, think of my mom. When I'm out there, think about, oh my God, my kid's got 3 things going on this week, but I enjoy doing those things, and helps me prepare.
Great. I love that. And then with the recovery of it, like you said, you're over 50. So when you're doing these runs, and how do you recover from that? If you've done a long run, you're prepping for it and you're pushing yourself, how do you rest up? What do you do?
So, probably not the right things, but for me, what works best for me is if it's a long run, I got to make sure I'm not working the next day. I mean, I got to do some extra stretching afterwards. I do my cool down, get cleaned up, get some food back into me, but then there's some later stretching going on. And then, if I'm at work, there are days where, especially if it's my first day as I build up, that I do get a little sore the next day. So I got to make sure I get another stretch out in the morning. Stretching for me just seems to be the key. I make sure I get a good stretch in, and before I go, and then kind of start with a nice walking cool up, warm up, and then a cool down afterwards, and then get a good stretch in and make sure I eat right.
That's awesome. And I meant to ask you earlier, because you kind of mentioned a couple of times with the scouts. You were an Eagle Scout, right?
No, I am. We are always an eagle to
Because
the
you're
day
right. You're
die.
right.
So it's funny, it's one of those things you can always hold on to. Um, you know, it it's a program that has given me a lot. Sent me to Europe, all over the country, got a lot of good friends in it. Uh, I've had experiences being kind of where I grew up, in the environment I grew up in, that I would never have had. And I try to give back a lot. My daughter's in the program right now. My boys were in it, and it's a family affair, and it's part of our lives.
Do you think, because I've met a lot of Eagle Scouts in my journey into the fire service, there seems to be more Eagle Scouts that are now firefighters. Do you think that really is
So
for I think for like military first responders, I feel like like when people have achieved that, when they've gone to the higher rankings in the Boy Scouts, it seems like they then move on to either military, police, or fire service.
Yeah, it was funny that you say that, because the year I got promoted to lieutenant, we're at the promotional ceremony, and a bunch of people got promoted. It wasn't just like one guy moved up. There was a bunch, and at the end, the fire chief at the time spoke to the crowd, and he goes, because they do a little bio of everybody getting promoted, what they've done in the job, what they've done in their personal life, things like that, and which I think is great, because we all have lives and organizations and things we do outside of the fire service. And he made reference to, he goes, if you were paying attention to all the bios, you would have heard either they're an Eagle Scout or they were in the military. And it is one of those things that, at least for me, you learn selfless service for others. You learn to take initiative. You learn to take responsibility. And some of the mentors I had in scouting growing up, especially working at scout camp, I'll give you a great example. My second year, I was supposed to make X amount of money, and I signed my contract. My parents signed it. I was 16 years old, and we sent it back. And then my first paycheck that summer came, and it was like a third of what it should have been. So I went, I talked to the camp director, and the camp director was like, no, that's not what we're paying you. So my area director at the time, the head lifeguard, and, you know, uh, eventually camp director, and he paid me the difference out of his pocket, which he didn't have to do. I'm some 16-year-old kid. He took care of me, and that always stuck with me. And I think the lesson I learned from that was look out for the next guy. So at the fire department, we do a lot of crazy things, and I always, every time we take a class about mental well-being, we always talk about the big bad calls, but for me, it's the little things over time. And for me, it's also the routine that is just like could have been avoided, and it wears you down.
Mm,
So you talked about it. We have a young department, and you got to look out for guys, and if it's just throwing darts or sitting in the recliners after dinner and making fun of each other, you got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of them. And I try to do it in a way that's just basically unnoticed as being a part of the crew, but even admitting your own faults. Like, not to the point where I'm self-deprecating, even though I probably am. It's hey, I screwed up this once upon a time, but this is what I learned from it. And you take that, and I think I learned that in especially being a camp director. Early on, I mean, I've had all these leadership things well before I was a lieutenant, and running a camp. I took over the camp, and one of the gripes is nobody knew what was going on behind the scenes, and it never seemed like we saw the previous administration. I mean, I went out, I do management by walking around, and I talk to them every day.
mhm.
And then when we're in staff meetings, we hold each other accountable by being honest, and I admit where I was wrong. And then people appreciate that. It's get out of the office from time to time, and be present.
Yeah.
And simply that, to me, is huge.
Yeah, I feel like, like you just nailed it with all of that. It teaches you guys, it teaches all of us at such a young age of how to have responsibilities and be and holding yourself accountable for a lot of things in life and manning up and stepping up when either things aren't right for others or for yourself. And we have a lot, actually. I think in our own department, we have quite a few Eagle Scouts. I think we have three, to be honest with you.
It's more than that.
Is it more? I thought so. I
Yeah,
know, like,
and matter of fact, Ethan Major, I drop his name. He's actually going to put a list together because we're looking to do something in the community with fire safety merit badge, and we think
oh,
it'd be a big
nice.
hit and draw more people in our community and the surrounding areas into our department, and maybe foster that spark that will make the next generation firefighter.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Doing the Explorer Academy, I met a lot of kids that are in the Boy Scouts and they're moving through their Eagle Scout awards and moved on to military and now moving into the fire service. And it's great to see that. I love to see that the program's still alive and well for the Boy Scouts. I tried it. I couldn't do it. I tried. I think I made it up to, I mean, I was in the Boy Scouts, but I was just too much into getting in trouble that I couldn't stick with it anymore. But
Yeah, but look at your full circle moment. You've been running that camp, and I had a privilege to work there this past year on a couple of days, and to see what that is. I don't know where it became, but I to see where it is, I had a blast. I watch young people discovering themselves and pushing themselves, and watching them struggle but learning at the same time in a positive environment. And brother, you do wonderful work for that, and that is going to mean more to them than they'll know.
yeah. No, I think that's a big takeaway is that there'll be a lifelong lesson. Just like in Boy Scouts, it's you still remember fondly of all those lessons you learned in life from developing that and moving up through the ranks and becoming an Eagle Scout. And yeah, you're right. Like it's such a valuable lesson for all of us. And I'm so glad that the people are in those programs, but people like you are still leading the way and promoting those programs and showing the youth that there's better things out there. And like I've said many times, honestly, I wish I knew about the fire service more when I was a kid. When I was like 17, 18 years old, I had no direction in life. And had I known that, the fire service was a thing, the explorers were a thing, I probably would have joined that. And life would have had a different route, but I mean, it's all comes together now. But we need more people to talk about these programs and that they're alive and well and they're doing great things for our youth and that you can carry them into adulthood and you can be very successful in life with these experiences under your belt. So I love that you guys are going to hopefully promote that program and I love to see. I can't wait to see where it goes. It's exciting because the Explorer Academy is tied in with the Boy Scouts of America. So it's great as it's working together for the same mission, is to help develop our younger generations, to give them a direction in life. So with the Boston Marathon and the Last Call Foundation, I'm going to bring up the screen for the because you mentioned the website, so I want everyone to see it. And the Last Call Foundation, I have it up right here, and this is the founder is Kathy Crosby Bell, which is his mom, and Michael Kennedy. And she gives a great description of why she's doing this, why she's so passionate about it. Not just because, unfortunately, that she lost her son in this horrific event, but why she's continuing on with this mission, and wants everyone to understand why we need to understand our equipment and the pros and cons behind it, how it's failing, how it's succeeding us. And she's really helping to lead a way to help develop programs and better equipment for us to keep us safe. And so if you guys are ever curious about it, lastcallfoundation.org, it's up on the screen here. You can see people doing the marathon here with their bibs. And also, again, there's all great information here. How to donate. You got the donate button. You got the join the team. And again, it gives a great description of why she's doing this and who Michael Kennedy is, and all the other programs are involved in this. It's really, really important. That's why I want people to understand what Lieutenant Livoli is doing and why he's doing it, what this program really means to all of us, especially in New England, because it does hit home to us very much so. I really do appreciate you doing this, sir. It's awesome to see it. I love seeing you doing this. It's a great thing that you're doing.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the things I like is everybody's always asking me around the department where it's going. I know some people who've never been to the Boston Marathon with our department who plan to be out there along the course, checking it out this year. And hopefully they'll be following me along. But this isn't just Dennis Livoli running the Boston Marathon. This is everybody who's put on the jacket and the helmet and gone somewhere to follow along, and take the department with me in a rallying, and kind of a you know somebody can say, hey, I know this guy from Derry's running. I work with him, and I can't wait to check it out and see what's going on. I hope I do the department right and in the local right, and make these guys proud of where they work, and be a part of this great thing.
Yeah, and again, it's great points all around, man. It's a team building effort. It's a great way to all hang out and cheer on your fellow brother of doing something that is not everybody can do, to be honest with you. And it takes a lot of time, effort, and money. And what a great way to support one another and to be there for your fellow brother, to be there to when you cross that finish line. Hopefully that our fellow brothers and sisters will be there waiting to embrace you when you cross that line with your family. Because I can't imagine, I see the videos and you see people crossing the line. The raw emotion that happens as soon as you finish it. Cause I'm sure you're thinking about it, but like, how are you like prepared mentally for that moment when you cross that finish line at the Boston Marathon? Because this is a life experience for sure, right? This is something that's like that you can't, honestly, I don't think anyone can really put into words. You have to be there, you have to feel it. So are you thinking about that day when you cross that finish line?
Yeah, man, I have since this started, and I know I got some buddies who are gonna get me there. They live close by. My wife is actually gonna still work Med Station 11, and they're in Newton at mile 17, and then she's gonna leave for the finish line right afterwards. And so we're still gonna put our family commitment into that. But I've asked my cousins, my trying not to get choked up here, but my cousin Mike and Jen, type A, strong, like awesome people, and still look up to them at my age. And they're going to be at Heartbreak Hill, which is, mile 20, 20. It's got a nickname there. And, they're going to be out there cheering me on at that point. But as you make your way through the city, and you had a picture or they had a picture when you showed the website of Engine 30, like where that's the turn onto Boylston for the finish line. And the firehouse will be on my right, and I'm going to turn. And I've been there, and it is in the middle of the city, is in between all these skyscrapers, and the people are packed in. And at that point, you can see the finish line. and I bet it's going to be just incredible energy and emotion past the bombing site, and you're going to do it, and it's going to be. I can feel it now, and I can't wait as a kid growing up in this region to be a part of that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. It really is. I'm gonna struggle at some point. Mentally, it's gonna be wear you down. Like last month with Disney, or a few weeks ago with Disney, you get into that low 20 range. You know you're within a few miles, but your brain's like, dude, let's go to the hot tub. Let's get a beverage, and you're done. But you keep going, and there are people along the course, and they psych you back up. But man, this is an event, and this is going to be, hopefully, someday my medal becomes part of the family, type
Yeah,
of thing. So
that's awesome.
it's
I love
exciting.
it. So much heart in it. And I think it's great. And I love the energy and the passion you have for it.
Thanks.
And when you finish, is there a meal that you want to eat? Is there something special to you? Because everyone, I'm sure, has something special they're looking forward to because they train so hard, right? You had a strict diet and everything else that you do with it. You sacrifice so much. Is there anything special you're thinking about for the meal? Because for me, I love food, and I love a good dinner. I love a good steak. So, is there something you're having in your mind at all that you would like to celebrate with?
God, I never even thought of that. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm listening to you, and I'm like, man, what do I give for an answer? But, I don't even know. I think the last call is gonna, have a room, and we gotta go and kind of do the photos and get everybody together. And, I'd like to go see my family. I've got, like I mentioned, my cousins. My cousin Jen, she lived right where they found, the Boston Marathon bomber. The cops were in the backyard, and they were all on lockdown. And, I want to go to the house, and whatever she cooks is fine by me. She's awesome cook. Cannoli would be great, man.
Good
Couple
cannoli.
of cannolis from Mike's Pastry and Beantown there.
There you
Love it.
go. I love a good cannoli from Mike's Pastry. I love the cream puffs, actually. The cream puffs are really,
Oh,
really good.
lobster claw, gotta get, well, that cream filling. Oh, gotta have it.
Yeah.
Maybe eat a
So
dozen pastries.
now, if anybody wants to donate, is there a special link that you have, or an address or a number or anything else that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I will give you that link, and it goes right to my page, and click the donation thing, and like every other charity, it's it tax right off in the end there, and we'll provide that for you. It would be awesome if everybody, even any a couple bucks helps.
Hmm.
It helps us get me there. It helps last call, and it helps firefighters, down the road with all the research and the grant writing that they do. So appreciate it.
How many people are in the group for the Last Call Foundation?
There's only two other firefighters that I know of from Mass. I'm the only one in northern New England. From just saying New Hampshire, but one of the runners is our team captain, Sarah. She was Michael's a girlfriend at the time of his passing, and she's gonna run it every year until she can't. She says, and that's inspiring to run a marathon every year, and so looking forward to meeting her, and learning from her experience of running this marathon.
That's fantastic, sir. I love it. So there you have it, guys. If you're curious about the Boston Marathon, you can check out their website as well. You have the Boston Marathon. It's April 20th. Obviously, it's going to be in the Boston area. You can go on their website, check out where it is, information for parking, buses, the T, anything to get there. There's going to be a whole bunch of information. So make sure you're following that. If you are planning to visit, make sure you get there early. Make sure you're preparing for the weather as well, because it is New England. It is in April. It's not warm. It's usually cold, and it's just very, very chilly and gets you right to the bone. So dress accordingly. It's a long day, and make sure you're there to cheer on your favorite runners and to support their foundations that they're going with. And Last Call Foundation, again, is near and dear to a lot of firefighters. And I love that you're doing it, sir. It's a great thing that we all can see and hopefully take part of, and really just to be there to watch you succeed, because I know you will. And I'm excited for it. Unfortunately, I will not be there. I'll be out of state. So unfortunately, that is a day that I believe I'll be at FDIC. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll be there.
Well, it's funny because I would like to get out to the FDIC and see you speak and teach, and we'll hopefully do that in the coming years. That being said, you can follow along. I'll get you my bib number, and you can check me out, and you can see me cross the finish line digitally.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. What's your bib number? Do you have one
Well, I
yet?
won't find out till the
Okay.
expo the weekend before.
Awesome. Make sure, yeah, I would love to get that information. I will blast out as much as I can to get that for your support. And I'm excited to see our brothers and sisters, to be there at the finish line with you, to see you succeed in this mission. And man, I really appreciate you being on the show. I appreciate you talking about your experiences and why you're doing this.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me and getting this word out. I mean, you know, it is an important thing, like you say, and it needs to be spread even more to know what this organization is, and the platform is at least getting that word out, and that's awesome. So thank you for having me, and thank you for taking this time.
Absolutely. Again, for anybody who's curious, it's the Last Call Foundation is created by firefighter Kennedy's mom, Kathy Crosby Bell, and Michael Kennedy, born October 1980, unfortunately line of duty death March 26, 2014. He was a Boston firefighter, former U.S. Marine, and as they said here, beloved son and friend, and he lost his life with his brother, Lieutenant Edward Walsh. So please make sure you're visiting these websites. Make sure you are supporting them and support Lieutenant Livoli in his mission to raise funds for this important foundation. And again, I'm excited for this. This is something that not a lot of people can do. And I'm excited to see you do it. And you're doing it with full steam ahead. You're passionate and you're ready to kill it. And again, man, just the dedication and time and commitment to doing this is no joke. This is not a fair weather thing. Like this is preparation for like a whole year. And we need to get on the mission to support you and raise these funds. And we're going to do our best to get it to where it needs to be.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate all of you. So with that being said, you all take care. Be safe. Here it comes. Nozzle top.
Nozzle top.
Nailed it.